and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. My name is Matt Cooper, and today it's the awesome foursome. We're back with four. We'll start with the main man himself, Dave has a party. Dave, how's it going, mate?
Very well, thank you, mate. Feeling a bit better now. We've got 2 wins on the bounce, but yeah, all good, thank you.
It's weird, isn't it, football? Doom and gloom the week before. Now we're absolutely flying. Can't wait for Friday.
Yeah,
funny old game.
Fingers crossed.
We've got another Talking Wolves regular part of the Talking Wolves team. Finn, how's it going?
Yeah, the main man and another. Thanks for that, mate. I'm all right. I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, all good.
And we've got a new face, a new member. We've got Jordan. Jordan, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, I'm Sam, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to have you on the first time. Hopefully, the first of many. It's nice to be back, boys, and nice to be talking. Hopefully, in a little bit more positive light. I know that the last time we spoke or did a pod, not last time we spoke, last time we did a podcast, I think we just got beaten by West Ham. But I think we need to address the elephant in the room, which was the Palace game. Dave, probably for me, it was probably the worst performance of the season.
Mate, you know when like you have an argument with somebody and like you're screaming at the top of your voice? I was genuinely doing that at our defence in the first half. I thought I've never shouted like this in a long, long time. Just like basic daft stuff. And we just didn't want to get close to Palace. I think Kilman had a bit of a stinker, but just the defence in general, we were dreadful. And I don't know, there's been a couple of games like that, but we tend to do it in halves, don't we? Rather than a full game, there's been a couple of halves where we've just not been up to it. And Palace just running at us and we didn't know how to stop them. So, yeah, really, really frustrating. And, you know, both goals, avoidable goals, which I think was the most frustrating thing, really, and didn't threaten them enough either. So frustrating because they were a team that, you know, on paper we should be beating them. We should be getting back to winning ways, but twice they've done us this season. Maybe it's just going to be one of those teams where we struggle to beat them. But they had big players, which, you know, caused us the problems at the end of the day. It's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I mean the first goal was calamitous. I don't know what Cody's doing. Got to be stronger. Kilman's obviously not tracked the runner coming across. Was it Mateta? Sar's got to be a bit more for me, a bit more decisive, a bit more dominant, and just go and get there. But it's an absolute stinker, wasn't it, Finn? Did you do a vlog for this one, Finn?
No, we lost, mate. Of course I didn't. But no, yeah, luckily, I mean, we don't have to talk about it much now because we've got a few wins coming up. But if people, it was basically just a copy and paste of the game at Selhurst Park. So if you want to go back and find the podcast for that one, it's basically the same. It felt exactly the same. And that's why it was so frustrating that, I mean, you can partly blame the tactics for doing the exact same thing. But also, like Dave said, it was so frustrating that it just looked like a team that I couldn't really recognise. Like they couldn't recognise each other, let alone us. Just not being able to pass the ball to each other, and they got chances from that. They were good, Crystal Palace, but I think we helped them quite a lot with the goals. So yeah, basically just a copy and paste.
Could you have not gone with the title? Raul Jimenez starts on the bench for Wolves in 2-0 defeat.
I mean, I could try that. I've never tried that one yet.
And you could have just filmed him in the dugout for 90 minutes. Talking of Jimenez not starting, Jord, he went with Neto, Podence and Hwang as the front three. I mean, I've been calling for something similar, and it happened against Brighton at the Amex when Hwang went off him. And I thought it worked all right, but this was a disaster, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's this whole you always get blindsided by, you know, the brilliance of playing a false nine, and like, you know, you've seen Spain do it in Barcelona and look so great at doing it. And you know what? Well, we found out pretty quickly Podence isn't a false nine, completely straight away. And I think that in all fairness to Palace, I mean, we haven't turned up against them both games. I think we've been really bad 3 games all season where I'd say we've been absolutely shite. And it's been Palace both times, Brentford at home. And it's a shame, really, because, you know, you look at Palace and, you know, I don't think they're a bad team under Vieira. And I think that, you know, I actually think they've got some half-decent players. I quite like Gay and Anderson, and they've got Gallagher. And they're not a bad team, but we've made them look a lot better than what they are. And we haven't really laid a glove on them, have we, like both games? And it's a bit, when you look at that table, it's a bit frustrating, really, that you'd like to think we'd take more than 0 points out of both games, but the reality is we didn't turn up and we got what we deserved.
Yeah. I mean, you've raised some good points there. It's twice now they've turned us over and convincingly. And I think it was one of those games. If they had gone in 4 or 5-0 at half time, you'd probably, you know, it wouldn't have been against what we'd seen out there. Gallagher's a good player. Elise, Zaha, no matter whether you think he's an insufferable prick or not, he's still a very good player and very dangerous. But Dave, we started with Hoover and Marcel as the right wing backs. Johnny came on, and Bruno made some quite ridiculous comments, in my opinion, after the game, saying that Hoover, didn't take his opportunity, and I don't want anything to do with kids who don't put the effort in. Do you think that was just born out of frustration for the result?
Yeah, but at the same time, in my opinion, possibly necessary. I know, I think we're just not used to it as Wolves fans, as a team, as staff and stuff. We're almost too nice, and I think Bruno's come across as somebody that's very nice. The press love him and everything. So I think everyone was just a bit shocked when, those words came out. But I think one or two of the things he said, even more recently when he dug out Hoover for the defeat against Liverpool, I thought that was like a bit of an unnecessary dig as well. But, in the last podcast I gave my thoughts on Keanu Hoover. I don't think he was good enough against West Ham. And I wasn't completely convinced by him. I even put him in my betmate team because I felt sorry for him. I thought, you know what, I've been giving him so much stick. I'll put him in the betmate. And then he come off injured 5-10 minutes in. So he still didn't, still shafted me there as well. But I was surprised, but sometimes it's necessary. We saw, I think it was the Athletic put out that when we played Burnley, Trincao and Fabio Silva were messing around as well. And that's why they didn't come on the pitch, because they weren't training and warming up properly. So I think he's just got to get that into their heads. At Benfica, he was the B team or the youth team coach and came up to the first team. So he was, he had disciplined these young players and was able to bring them into the first team, and they knew what he was about. He's come into this team and obviously taken on these young players that probably don't understand him as a coach and how he wants to work. So yeah, I think that probably did tip him over the edge, and it was probably about time for some home truths. So surprising to hear, but for me at the same time, a little bit refreshing, I suppose.
What's the term though? Hunger in paradise?
Yeah.
Maybe. Finn, I mean, you sit in the North Bank with me. Obviously, I sit with the working class, like you sit with the posh people in the WV1. You see the same as me. Players warming up.
Yeah.
Trincao has always been kind of lackadaisical, hasn't he? I'm not and Silva, so you can see why he gets frustrated when we're chasing the game and he looks across the touchline and they both just stood there chatting.
Yeah, we only really have one sort of enthusiastic warmer-upper, and it's Podence. So whenever he's on the bench, my mum and my sister, it's what they pay the admin for, really. But they're all the same. Even if Jimenez is on the bench, he doesn't warm up. He just stands and stares at Bruno, and then you'll notice, if we ever miss a chance, he just stands like that and stares. Aït-Nouri looks half asleep. The whole bench, they're not very enthusiastic. So, like with the Hoover thing, I think there's a few he's been wanting to say that to, and Hoover was just the unfortunate one that got the brunt of it, and it looked like the headlines were all just attacking Hoover. I agree, Matt. It felt a bit harsh to me, but when you look at the players, as Dave said, he's been an expert in bringing through youth, and Man City playing right now, Bernardo Silva, João Cancelo, they all rave about him. Renato Sanchez, he's brought these players through. He's obviously got the right touch. It's not how I'd go about it. On Football Manager, I don't think I've ever flipping thrown a water bottle in my life. But if you need to get angry sometimes, maybe that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, I would be a little bit concerned if you believe what the rumours are true. I think Birmingham Live, Alex Dickin released an article to say that Hoover was told that Semedo would have been first choice last season, then this season it would have been kind of fighting for each other's place. Semedo's been banging form. Hoover's unhappy he's not played. But I don't know about you, Jord, but I'd be concerned if a professional footballer wasn't banging on the door asking to be played. But one thing you got to do if you are doing that is when you get your opportunity, you got to take it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's you hear about, obviously read the Alex Dickin article as well, and it's you would be banging on the door. And I think going back to the Amazon documentary with Tottenham, and Danny Rose went in to see Mourinho just basically said, well, you're not putting a shift in, so piss off, basically. And I think that as a professional footballer, of course he wants to play, and he probably he's come from Liverpool, who are a big club. He's a Dutch under-21. He's probably come with a bit of reputation. He obviously, there is a player in there. I generally think, I don't think he's a wing back in a month of Sundays, to be honest with you. But I think there is a player in there, and he's frustrated. But like you say, Semedo's been bang on form, arguably player of the season. I think he'd be up there with a shout of that, without how good he's been all season. So, at the same time, you've got to be prepared to wait your turn and take the opportunity, and he hasn't, unfortunately. I think that you can tell that. I think the Liverpool game, and again, he come on for a few minutes and obviously he got spun, didn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And that it just looked bereft of confidence against West Ham. Like as a wing back, it's such an important role when you're playing in the back five to get up and down the pitch, and he was just so safe against West Ham, like really safe, and like he couldn't get up the pitch, and you could see that happening against Palace as well. And I think it's unfortunate that he's obviously come off injured and stuff, and he's got the brunt of Bruno's wrath, but it makes sense when you think about I think there's arguments as to why Aït-Nouri's not starting every week, because comparing him with Marcel, he's a better footballer. There's no two ways about it, but I think Hoover's took the brunt of like maybe some of the other youngsters not pulling the weight. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't think you can blame Hoover for coming off injured. He would have done his warm up. I don't think when he said he hasn't prepared, I just think he means in the weeks in training. I personally think it was born out of frustration for losing 2-0. Unfortunately, Hoover's got the brunt of it. He has come out and said after the game that, or in the week, that it was, he spoke to Key soon after and they all understood and whatnot. So it seems like it's been squashed. But it was strange for me. I'm not a massive fan of managers coming out and hanging a player out to dry, whether they deserve it or not, especially a young player. But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds for Hoover. It might be the kickstart that he needs. It might make him go into his shell even more so. I know not long afterwards he changed all his socials, didn't he, Dave? To him
in a Holland kit, no Wolves anywhere to be seen. Yeah. So, yeah,
it's a bit of a strange one. But after this game, Dave, did you feel that the bubbles burst, the season's over?
No, not necessarily, because I looked at the games coming up. Obviously, we had we've been playing Watford,
I'm not this, mate.
Everton.
I've got the picture in front of me as well.
Yeah, Watford, Everton, and Leeds. And I thought, you still got 3 winnable games there, and if we can win all 3, we'll get something out of all 3. You'd expect teams in and around us to drop some sort of points as well. I think we could be back in the race. So yeah, it wasn't all over at the time. Obviously frustrating. But yeah, definitely not. I think, obviously we're in a completely different situation now. We're happy. As Wolves fans, we know every single one of us are fickle. Lose one game, it's we're the worst team in the world, and win 1 or 2 on the bounce, and we can win the title. So
yeah, I think football fans in general are fickle, but I feel like this season, especially like our lot, it's even worse because of how close it all is. Like you could throw a blanket over us, Spurs and West Ham, and there's always one of us dropping points. So I think that's what's made it more fickle. It made us more fickle. But Finn, let's press on now to the Watford game. Now we've spoken about it. It was a wonderful performance, wasn't it, from start to finish?
Yeah, and until maybe 2 wins in a row, I can be fickle now and say we're brilliant again. But at the time, I thought, is it us being brilliant or are they being awful as well?
I think it was a mixture.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they put in a spirited performance at the end of that Arsenal game. So I thought maybe they'll go into this quite hungry, but didn't really show up at all. Still got Dennis in my FPL, and after that, he's gone. I couldn't see much coming from Watford. But no, yeah, I think once we were given that helping hand to begin with, second half was just a pleasure to watch and capped with a goal that I haven't made a noise for like that in a long time. It's a different sort of noise, isn't it? A goal like that. Not many people get to hear me make those.
Don't let you miss me say that, mate. Bloody hell, everyone. A bit of a few question marks around the lineup, Jord. Though we saw Willy Bolly come back in out from the cold. I couldn't believe that.
No, you know what? As well, he came back like the version that we grew to love. As well, he was standing. He looked so assured. Like I thought he was coming in, and Kilman probably should have come out, after how he was at Palace, and you can tell, whether it is related back to what's going on in Ukraine, who knows? But he's definitely was off the boil a little bit. And Bolly came back, and distribution, aerial, like he just won everything. He was just back to his best, and I think that a fit Bolly is. He walks into our team, in my opinion, in our best 11. And the way he played against Watford, again, not bigging up too much. I thought they were embarrassing, to be honest with you. But he was brilliant. He was brilliant. And you know what? It was great to see because it gives us another option now as well. That's another option. And where we've been bemoaning depth in the squad, if you've got a player like Willy Bolly on your bench, we're a half decent team. Put it like that.
Yeah, I think you raise a great point there. It's almost like he came back to the Bolly of probably a couple of years ago. Because every time I see that, you see an article to say that Willy Bolly's back training, you see a lot of people, mostly on Facebook, saying this is great news. And I'm sat there thinking, I've watched him a year and a half, and he's been in large parts not very good. But like you said, he come back and he was imperious. He was so dominant, wasn't he, Dave? I know you said that not long after. He said he's just an absolute animal when he's on his day. And if we can try and keep that Bolly and bottle it up and keep him fit, then he still is. Even at, was he 30, 31? He's still a big asset for the team.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about getting a new centre half, and I suppose that was even before we knew his situation, really. Obviously, and we've come in with Says, Cody, and Kilman, and pretty much had one of the best defenses in the league. And now, if you add Willy Bolly to it, a fully fit Willy Bolly, like you said, like Jord said, it really was like he'd never been gone. He walked back into that team. There was no bits of play where you thought, oh yeah, you could tell he's not very sharp. Like he was bang on, like aerial duels. Every time he went up for a header, he was winning it. And it was fantastic. But I said on the match preview before the game, obviously he'd been featured on the bench for the last game or so. I said, obviously I expected Bolly to be on the bench again. We might only see one or two small cameos from him before the end of the season, and he might leave. And I was completely wrong. He started that game, had a full 90 minutes, and he was phenomenal. And now it's given Bruno Lage another good headache, I'd say, for the rest of the season. Because if he can keep Bolly at that sharpness and fitness, he's got a choice of two wide centre-backs, let's say, 3 wide centre-backs, rather, that could do a job, and that I, as a fan, would be comfortable in watching.
Yeah, I think that the comments after the game were quite telling as to what Bruno Lage thinks of Max Kilman, though. He said that, we've played so many games and I really trust Max, and, sometimes you have to rotate things. And Jordan, you were right in saying that Kilman hasn't been at it really in the past 2 or 3 games. Whether that's to do with the atrocities going on in Ukraine remains to be seen. I think it'd affect anyone who's got links with the country. But Finn, let's talk about Ben Foster for a little bit. Sure, all itching to talk about it. Atmosphere has been, by and large, pretty shit this season at the Molineux until Ben Foster turns
up. We were saying this probably about, what would it have been? Was it 3-0 by about 25 minutes, 25?
21 minutes.
At what point could you blame it like as bad management or from Roy Hodgson to play him? Like, because Backman's played a few games this season. I thought it just gave us an extra edge that they could have just got rid of, like the pressure on him. And to be fair, he's never been particularly good with his feet. But it feels like we caused that. And then listening to his podcast again, I listened to it on the way back afterwards, and how he said Molineux and how it can send you under. And when I was younger, it used to really affect me. It's mad. I know they say, oh, the fans are the 12th man, but it genuinely felt like we got in a footballer's head, which is, I think we should all pat ourselves on the back, really. I think we did a great. I think we take the win.
You could just tell his heart was going, couldn't you? Like he's a seasoned pro. He's had a wonderful career. It still doesn't take away from the fact that he's a knob. But
is he though? He's a lovely bloke.
It's all Rambo. He's a ledge. He's a baller. What a guy! What a guy!
That's the tweets after the Albion games as well. Like
yeah.
It was the Watford one where I maybe slightly lit up.
Watford, that was it. Yeah,
he called the 1-5 as well, didn't he? Like, no one's ever called Aaron Ramsdale Rambo apart from Ben Foster. Like, you didn't know that. Like that. He's just a bit of
as a footballer, you could lap it up as much as you want, but if you're stood there with your back to that stand as well, having that much abuse, I don't think anyone in this world would feel comfortable there.
No, not at all. And even when he came out. And he come towards, I think, because I kicked towards the South Bank first. He walked over and he was like, he couldn't look anyone in the eye, and I just knew that his arse was gonna go. And then as soon as he made that mistake for the Podence goal, I mean, great finish nonetheless, even though it's an open goal. But every time after that, he got the ball, it was like he didn't want it. It was like a hot potato, but. It's fantastic to see, but it is strange with the atmosphere, isn't it? But I'm not complaining. Perhaps we just need to target opposition keepers, and maybe we might get a few more songs going. But Jord, performance-wise, happy? Best performance of the season?
I don't think it was the best performance of the season, just because I think Watford were a big contributing factor to the result. I do think they were embarrassing. I know I said it already, but they were really bad. And I think that they let us play. And, I think you look at, and again, don't want to really give the blueprint about how to beat Wolves, but I think you look at that, Arsenal, when we played them at the Emirates, and West Ham and even Palace, like if you press us and don't let us play and get in our faces, you can nullify us. And we were literally, they were like a good 5-7 yards off from Moutinho, Neves every time we got the ball. I had the privilege of watching it at home because I had COVID. So I couldn't believe Neves didn't get in his face. Like no one was getting in the face. And I think Neves complete the most crossfield passes? Was it like something like 21 out of 23?
Yeah, it's more than like goalkeepers do, like long balls, right? Yeah.
But no, again, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic to watch, but it's like, you know what, they made it really easy for us. Don't get me wrong, he scored 4 goals. We don't score goals, so I'm not like illusion that it was a good performance, but I do think Watford contributed to it to say it was our best.
Especially.
Go on, Finn.
Sorry, Matt. When it's players like Sissoko and even the Everton game Decore that have previously been like Neves and Moutinho's kryptonite, it was they did really well against him. Sorry.
No, so I know we spoke about this in our group chat, Dave, where I think you said like Sissoko's a bit old, but he's a real presence, and you worried a little bit about Neves and Moutinho, whether they could be up to it. But I was just like, I didn't see it being a problem at all, because I think now they've probably learnt the lesson a bit more.
I think
go in these games
this season. I know we spoke about the Palace game, but I think we've sort of learned as a team now how we can sort of play our way against these bulkier midfields. And like you touch wood, you look at our results against the lower teams this season, they've been all right. And they're the teams that tended to cause us the problems before. But I said just in general, he's like a player that I'd want at Wolves, but at the same time, I wouldn't want at Wolves because he's like a big, bulky midfielder that can get up and down the pitch. But at the same time, you just think of him as a bit of a, he hasn't got much else about him, to be fair. So I don't know. I was a bit worried. I looked at his BetMate points before the game as well. He was racking those points up. He was my captain actually on BetMate, and but yeah, fortunately for Wolves, he didn't have a great game. So happy altogether. But yeah, Neves and Moutinho absolutely ran that game. It was ridiculous how well they were on the ball.
They were sensational. One thing though about that, it's first off, when I come out the ground, everyone's like, "Oh, we scored 4 goals. It was great." Yeah, but I mean, they've chucked 2 in. Let's not beat around the bush. But let's talk about that Neves performance, Finn. I've seen a few people on Twitter dub it as the best individual performance I've seen at Molineux. I don't agree with that, but it was a special performance, wasn't it?
It was, but now we've seen like Barcelona and that sniffing around. I think Moutinho's the player that they've all got to go for, really. Then Donker, if they fancy him. It's getting worryingly good, isn't it, at the moment? To the point where, like, with the contract situation, you wouldn't begrudge him a move at the end of the season, because a player like that should be, like Bruno said, was it the top of the top, the quote? Just control the midfield. As I say, you can see he's grown as a player, because those sorts of players that he was struggling against this season, no problem. Just Rolls-Royce midfielder. Like I was discussing earlier with my family, actually, does he go down, if he leaves this summer, does he go down as a Wolves legend?
I think so, yeah.
I think he's the only one in the sort of era that I've been watching. I'd say, that would qualify.
It's a strong word. Depends where he goes.
Comment below.
Jord, does he go down as a legend if he leaves this summer?
I'd say so. I think just about, because I think he's pretty much the poster boy of the whole era, isn't he? If the song and all that sort of stuff, and he's the best thing. He's definitely the best centre midfielder in my lifetime. I know I'm not that much older than you lot, but he's by far, he's just brilliant. Like, and some of the things he can do with football is just illegal, to be honest with you. No, and like a lot of Wolves, especially our generation, have grown up on quite industrious centre midfielders who, not taking the, not saying degrading the worth to the club, like your Dave Edwards is and all these sort of players, Paul Emery and whatever. And there was graft there and a bit of industry, but Like it's just pure class. That's all you can say. And I think that wasn't around for like the 80s or anything like that, but it's like he must be close to being in like our all-time 11. I think like if you look at it like pound for pound, he's got to be.
You'd argue him and Moutinho both far. I know other people have said that. I've seen a few people say he's like Moutinho and Neves are like number 2 and 3. I can't remember who they said was first. But I think so. Like you said, Jordy, not much older than us. So for the team that I grew up watching or having the first memory of was the playoff winning team with like Nathan Blake and all them lot. That's the first team that I remember. And obviously he's better than who was like Colin Cameron and
Mark Kennedy. Yeah.
Mark Kennedy.
all them lot, yeah.
Yeah. But he said some of the stuff that he does with the ball is illegal, Dave. That finish. Unbelievable. So I could see him lining it up, and it was just I felt like that ball hung in the air for about 3 hours. I was just sat there in awe watching it.
Well, he had the one that he shot that was blocked, and then we scored off the rebound, which was sort of disallowed, or the referee very, very early, which I know a lot of people still can't understand what happened there. I assume it's because Bolly was sort of blocking off their defender, but it was very harsh, I think. Like I've said to a few people, the ref should have let it play on, but, we're being pedantic. But, yeah, that finish was ridiculous. But you know what the thing was actually the build-up to the goal, where Neves actually gets the ball, and I've seen him doing it a lot more the last 2 games in particular. Rather than taking a touch and passing it straight off or crossing it straight in, he's getting the ball and trying to drive forward with it. And that's what he did with that goal there. It didn't go far, but took a touch, big touch forward, and like sees Foster off his line. And it is just genuinely perfect. Any more power, it's over the bar. Any less power, it goes into Ben Foster's hands or he's tipping it over. It was genuinely just a superb finish.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's another one, like every single, pretty much 95% of his goals are just like ridiculous goals. And they're going to be on every Wolves goal compilation for the next 50 years because they're just that good.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was coming on to my next point. I feel like the last 2 games, he's been the complete midfielder. Everything he did was right. Whereas previously, like, there's some elements to his game that could do with being rounded a bit more polished. But the last 2 games, he has been utterly flawless, even defensively, offensively.
Yeah, I know we talk about the Everton game in a minute, but yesterday against Everton, we know it Neves. Normally, you pass him the ball, takes 1 or 2 touches, and then he'll spray it out to wherever he wants to. But going against Everton, he probably gained about 30 to 35 yards in a single move yesterday on his own, just driving the ball forward. And the recycling of the ball as well from both him and Moutinho has been ridiculous. Just so good the last couple of games. And I don't know what it is. He's been so good. And I just really, really hope that we can convince him, whether we have to get into Europe to do it or say, well, this is how much we're going to spend this summer. I just want us to convince him to sign a new contract at the club.
Do you think it's likely though? I mean, you couldn't begrudge him, could you, if he wanted to go and better himself? The only kind of hope that I'm holding on to that he seems really settled. He's almost developed a Black Country accent as well. he loves the club. He can genuinely tell that the lad loves the club, but I don't think that's enough to keep him here. Do you think?
He's got a wolf tattoo. All right, so that says it all. No. He's got a tattoo of a wolf on his arm.
Hasn't he got a tattoo of him celebrating like that?
Celebrating.
He's got like 3 or 4 tattoos of like some of his celebrations at Wolves. I think it's on his arm or his leg or something.
Yeah.
So there's no room for any other clubs. He's got to stay. Yeah. There's only so much arm room. But no, the only thing, if you proposition right, if I was like the contract guy at Wolves, if you did a sort of Jack Grealish sort of thing where you said, right, give us next season, and if we're not in Europe, there's a clause for whatever 70, 80 million. You can go to a team in Europe, but say bring in a midfielder that we know will complement him. We've been screaming out for that sort of box to box. Say we're going to bring that person in, whether we actually do or not, I don't know. But I would promise him that regardless. Put in that sort of clause, and that's the only way I think you're going to keep him, because it is from the outside looking in. Obviously, we're hoping he stays, and he loves the club, and he must love Tetnal enough to not go to Real Madrid or Barcelona, which is like, we are hopeful, aren't we? But I think that's the way you can keep him, personally.
Yeah. I don't know. I really, really hope we can keep it. And that's like the last 2 games, like I said, he's been utterly flawless. And it's like people are going to start noticing soon. People are going to start taking note that he's a tremendous talent.
Unless he goes to Man City, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, or PSG, I'll be disappointed. Or Barca, I'll be disappointed if he goes elsewhere.
But the Villa I think they can get him though.
Probably. Villa fan 1 has just tweeted us back saying,
"Is it that Wesley Boyle, the Villa fan, who's on that?"
Probably, If we sign Ruben Neves, our midfield 2 would be Douglas Luiz and John McGinn.
Chunky Wanker, whatever his name is, he's one of those kind of tweets. But that's a Watford game, like 4-0 win. After that game, Jordan, about you, but I felt really confident about going to Everton, that it wasn't just going to be a flash in the pan and the blip would be over. And I think we can say that, can we? Can we say the blip's over?
I think so. I think that, I think we're a good team. Like, genuinely, I think we're a good team, and we're going to lose football games because we're not perfect, and we're not one of the, we're not a Liverpool or Man City. We are that. I don't think there's a lot between 3rd and 8th, like you say, in terms of on a one-off game, 1 to 11. I really don't. And sorry, below Chelsea, should I say?
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think the top 3 are the top 3, and I think we're just a good team. And I think that if we turn up, I think that we can beat anyone on our day. I've got that confidence in this team, and it's really, really good. And I think that going to Everton, I don't know if you're going to bring it up, like. I saw a lot of tweets before the game when the lineup came out, and it just really angered me because, I know they got slapped by Tottenham 5 in the week and stuff, but the home game before that, I'm pretty sure, was the Man City game where they were unlucky not to get anything out of the game. Yeah. They were really good. Goodison's a horrible place to go, and people are moaning about bringing Dendoncker in, Marcel in. Why are we playing 3-5-2? They're shit. What's this? It's a poisonous place, Goodison Park, and I think we played it absolutely perfectly. Silence the crowd, get them to turn on them, and it's comfortable. I think the second half was pretty comfortable. In the end, I thought it was a comfortable 1-0. And I just think that, like you say, the fickleness of Wolves fans. It's like, oh well, we beat Watford 4. Let's go play 3-4-3. Reality is, I know Everton are where they are because they are where they are. They're not that good at the moment. But they've still got some, Richarlison's still a dangerous player, and they've still got people who can hurt you. So I think we paid them enough respect. And you know what? Like I say, I think some of the tweets and stuff about, I don't know, it just doesn't sit easy with me, to be honest with you.
We were in the pub before the game on County Road and speaking to a couple of people, and those, like I said, it's in the lineup. What's he fucking doing? 3-5-2 negative. And I was like, all you need to do is not concede for half hour at Goodison. How they love a boo. And you're completely right in what you say, Jord. It was almost like, all right, first 45 minutes, we'll sit deep, we'll contain, we'll frustrate the life out of them. And I don't know if you agree with this, Dave. Second half, it was like 2 completely different teams.
Exactly.
The class and the quality shone through. And what you've also got to take into consideration as well, we only played Thursday. It's a quick turnaround. There was going to be rotation, and it worked. It worked a treat.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sort of glad we were there, so I didn't have to be scrolling through Twitter or look at some of the tweets, because I think if there's one thing that us as a fan base need to learn is just wait until the final whistle. I always remember when we played Besiktas away in the Europa League, and everyone was going ballistic by half time of how bad we were playing, or not even bad, we were just so negative. And I thought, I can't believe you're expecting us to go to Besiktas away in Turkey and just go out all out attack. How toxic a place that would be. And we just held them at bay and then got the winning goal. And then it was all happy and rosy by the end of the final whistle. So that's what, us as I'm probably guilty of it myself as well. I've done it before, I've made comments during the game or whatever. But
what was your tweet? What was your tweet?
Never forget Villa away.
When's this clown going to make a change?
That's probably why Bruno's rejecting my calls. No, I've come to, I'm not going to say but I've come to sort of tolerate the 3 in the middle now this season, because I know it has got its positives. I was never a big fan of it because I thought it restricted us going forward. And although we didn't create a huge amount of chances yesterday as well, I think it did solidify us. It stopped Everton from creating much, like Jord said. Yes, they're not doing very well. They've got Richarlison. They've got players like Decore and Van der Beek, where if you do give them a bit of space or time on the ball, they're probably going to make things happen. So, yeah, we restricted them really well until half time. And then for that whole 45 minutes, I think it was quite crucial we got that early second half goal. But my word, I've probably close to being one of our most comfortable second half or 45 minutes of the season. But the way we were knocking the ball around, I've not seen us play football like that for a long, long time. And we were just doing it like it was exhibition or match or training drill. It was ridiculous. Like we were saying earlier, just the little tricks, flicks, the way we were using our chest to knock the ball on. It was just phenomenal. The triangles of passes. It was really enjoyable to watch. But it wasn't just the attractive players like Neves and Moutinho doing it. It was Marcel, Saïss, Dendoncker. They're all getting involved. It was a top performance by everyone.
Yeah, I think from front to back, it was fantastic. And that second half, it was when we were getting pressured with the ball, and we just retained possession, and it was like it was easy, and we were playing around him. It was like boys v men. Neves and Moutinho in that middle, picking up such intelligent positions to kind of get around the press. It was an absolute masterclass, and I'm with you. I don't really mind the 3-5-2, and I was saying at half time I'd switch to a 3-4-3. We're not creating anything. A lot of the games been played out wide, but I think it shows how much we know. But let's talk about the goal thing. Dendoncker won the foul initially with another run out wide, which seems to be doing as a as a Mazzala. What did you say as a Mazzala, Dendoncker?
Yeah, go on. That's definitely, man.
Yeah. Been deployed here, there, and everywhere this season. But he wins the foul. Ball comes in, gets headed away, and it's those second phases of free kicks which we know they've been working on, and it's worked a treat. And after the weekend, Finn, I think Conor Cody's the best finisher at the club.
Mate, to be fair, I thought it was an own goal to begin with. I didn't really see it. I thought it'd gone in off someone.
No way
watching it back.
Cody's head. Yeah.
yeah. What a play! And if the Watford game is the fans' win, Tony Roberts has got to take that one, because the dramatic improvement in second phase of set pieces, the amount of goals we've scored this season. I mean, away from home alone, I remember the Brighton one, one at Villa or two at, it was two at Villa, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Villa away, second phase set pieces. So it's been amazing. It's added so many goals to a count that's low as it is. So they've been really, really, really important for us. But I mean, I can't believe that Cody was back for 3 of those seasons, because he was famously never crossed the halfway line, did he? I remember when we got promoted, and a lot of my mates were saying, "Oh, who's a good FPL option?" I said, anyone but Cody. And this season, I think he's one of our highest point scorers because of the clean sheets, the goals. Get him up there. I don't know why we didn't, but yeah, great goal.
The only time we used to get over the halfway line last year was when he was fucking changing sides for fucking half time.
Or celebrating.
Penalty at Bolton.
Celebrating. Yeah. It's a great finish, and I bet he loved that as a cop out, because they were giving him some stick as well. He loved it. But again, Dave, we're going back to the point of Neves. The fact that he's got the ball out wide. Normally, he'd probably try and come in field or just hit it first time. He's gone past the player and that whipped an absolute pearl of a ball in. I don't know what's happened to him the past couple of weeks, but he's turned into a world beater.
I think he's looked at your haircut and thought, I need a trim like that, and then I might turn into a top player. No, he just looks more positive on the ball, and that quality of ball literally just needed a touch in that direction, and he's going in the back of the net because of the pace of the ball and the height of it was bang on. And again, I'm going to bring him a bet, mate. I just thought it was the amount of players in there. I was like, yes, Romain Saïss for the bet, mate. And then it was kind of Cody wheeling away. But yeah, he's a top header. And you pick anyone of that Wolves team that you would have wanted to score yesterday at Goodison Park, it would have been Cody. So yeah, great. And great goal. Second, like you said, Matt, I didn't really realise until after the game, but a second phase as well. It's recycling the ball after a set piece. And yeah, bang on. I'm well chuffed.
Well, you say there wasn't with anyone else you'd want to score that goal for Wolves. Well, in my bet, mate, I had Saïss and Johnny, so I would have preferred it if it was Johnny putting the ball in and Saïss getting in. But let's just brush over bet, mate, because at the weekend it was winner takes all pot, which is not what we usually do. We usually do pays like 5 or 6 places. So me and Dave have been having absolute stinkers. Like we just can't get the points on the board. So bearing in mind this week was the winner takes all pot. I managed to come fourth and finish with absolutely cool. Like it's the highest I've finished since we partnered with them, and it was going really well as well. Like I couldn't get signal in the ground at half time. Like I was doing really well, and then to come back and see I finished fourth, only 4 points off 150 quid. I just wanted the ground to swallow me up. But big shout out to Jake G98 who finished with 63 points and took home 150 quid off.
You tweeted us today as well, Matt.
Yeah, I saw that. But his team, like, he's put Cody in there. Like, he's got to be like someone have a look at match fixing. But who's putting Cody in the team? He doesn't intercept. He doesn't tackle.
He just loves the narrative, mate. He just loves the narrative.
Yeah, his team was Sarr, Cody, Kilman, Captain Nebj, Matinho, Vice Captain Jimenez, and Richarlison. Neves is his best performer with 20 points, but I fucking couldn't believe it that I finished fourth. I'm going away Friday. I could have done with that 150 quid. But where did you finish, Dave? I'm just scrolling down here, but I feel like if I trying to keep going, my phone might die.
17th, I finished.
17th. Yeah. That's not too bad for you, is it?
You know what though? If you finished fourth, you would have won about 20 quid.
Well, that's what I mean. If it wasn't a winner,
if we did the normal rules, whose idea was it to change it?
I think it was both of ours.
Yeah.
Both of ours. So I've shattered myself there out of 150 quid. But big shout out to Jake G98 because he's absolutely smashed it there, and he said he's going to do the double against Leeds on Friday. So let's move on to that game. Friday night, 8:00 kickoff at Molineux under the lights. Jord, do you reckon it'll be a special atmosphere again?
Hope so, and I think that Leeds come into town. I mean,
exactly,
the darlings of Leeds and all that. Whatever you say, the fan base is very good. Like, it's very good. So it's naturally. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they'd have sold out, like without even looking. And I think that it's a really winnable game. I think the fact of obviously they've got that last minute winner against Norwich yesterday, which probably gives them puts the tail up a little bit. And I hate all the media narrative of it all, and I think with Bielsa going, it's probably going to stop. But they're good for the Premier League, in my opinion.
Yeah,
being there, it's a game we should be favourites for. I think that we've got their number a little bit. I think the away game at Ellen Road, I think we were a little bit naive in the way of how we approached it when we were 1-0 up, and we like to control games, and we're very successful at that. But then on the flip of it, when you concede last minute, that's where the frustration comes out of it because we know we could have done more. Like I say, I think it'll be a good game. I think we're strong favourites for it, and another 3 points, especially with a few of the other teams around us not playing. I know West Ham are playing Spurs, I think, as well. It's a big weekend again in terms of where we can actually put some pressure on these teams around us with the 3 points.
Yeah, like you said, they got that last minute winner at the weekend. But I don't know about you, Dave, but I feel I'm not going to be at the game. I'm going to be watching it abroad. But I feel confident we're going to go there. We're going to go to Molineux, get the job done.
I hope so. I mean, I think every game now, I'm not going into every game 100% confident like I used to be fair. But I just think a lot of these Premier League teams, you just don't know which version of them are going to turn up. And we've seen Leeds turn up against some teams. Obviously, I've not managed to see any of the couple of games under Jesse Marsh yet, so I don't really know how things have changed for Leeds United yet. But like Jord said, that game at Ellen Road was really frustrating because, they had such a poor team out as well. I think they had a number of injuries, suspensions, COVID at the time. We really should have done the job on them. And it's one of those type of games that we look at the end of the season, and if we're missing out on Europe by a couple of points, you're thinking that game against Leeds, the games at home to Burnley, away at Norwich, they're the sort of games we're going to look back at. But yeah, I mean, as far as I can remember, every time we play Leeds, we have, especially under the lights, we've had a couple of good games over the years against them. I think we had the one, it was a Good Friday, we beat them the 4-3, was it? We've played them in the Championship in a couple of evening games and got a couple of good results. So when I look at it that way, I am feeling confident. But like you guys said, phenomenal support. And I think them bringing good support, them hopefully having a good atmosphere is going to cheer up the rest of Molineux as well. And it's going to be a good night.
What do you think of the Marsh appointment, Finn? As an outsider, I'm not quite sure of I get why Bielsa's so loved, but are you surprised that they parted ways with Bielsa, especially with 10 games of the season to go, 11 games of the season to go?
Yeah, well, Wolves went with the sort of opposite approach against Leeds early on in the season that most people have, and you saw that Bielsa's tactics against a half-decent team, they were being torn apart, weren't they, with the really aggressive man marking, and I saw some stuff about how Tottenham did it, and it was ridiculous, and then Wolves chose not to do that, and they looked quite good against us, surprisingly. But it wasn't looking great. The Jesse Marsch, I've seen 50-50 with actual Leeds fans, and obviously they've seen their own team more than I have, so it's obviously split opinion, and it's hard. It's sort of similar to us with Nuno, wasn't it, where I said when we sacked Nuno, you very rarely see a manager get celebrated off like that, and yet Leeds are planning a statue for Bielsa. It's literally in one sentence, we're sacking him, next sentence, we're planning a statue. So it's this confusing one. It very rarely comes around like that. But with Marsch, I remember we were sort of not sniffing around him, maybe just linked with him when we were thinking of getting rid of Nuno, and I wasn't keen. Obviously, he gets praised a lot, and I think I said it on one of our podcasts at the time. He gets praised a lot for his work at Salzburg, but the front four he had, it was Haaland, Hwang, of all people, Minamino, Szoboszlai in there. Oh, yeah. I could probably win the Austrian league with talent like that up front against those sorts of players. So Leipzig didn't go well. Again, had players like Szoboszlai, and the new manager's doing much better there. And Kunku, wasn't great, but that first win could be vital. They sort of have like a delayed new manager bounce, knowing, look, now they've got that last minute winner. But no, I mean, speaking from very, very far out, I'd have probably just stuck with him. But there was a lot of fans saying, no, I love him, but he's got to go as well. So one that I'm going to sit on the fence with probably until we beat him, and then I'll say they should never sacked him.
Yeah, I think there was quite a few sections of our fan base when Nuno went was to get Jesse Marsch in purely because it's almost like a hipster's kind of favourite, isn't it? The way
Ted Lasso once.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with American coaches though, like I almost feel like before that they've even kicked the ball, that they're already on the back foot because like as Brits, we just take the piss, don't we? like Brad Bobley on Soccer AM, like Mennert. Like we just take the piss. Like we don't take him seriously. He might go on to be the best coach in the world, but it's weird.
I'd end up doing my American accent on the podcast as well.
My Mexican dude.
Yeah. My Jimenez impression. Yeah.
Holy smokes, that was such a good game. Lineup, Jord. Do you go with the same lineup at Everton, or do you go back to the 3-4-3? Do you bring Neto in if he's fit? Aït-Nouri?
I think it's one of the only thing I'll say is whatever team he picks, like Dave said earlier, like judge it at the end of the game because people are going to be unhappy no matter what. And I think that for me, obviously at home with you're going to have you'd like to think you got the impetus. You should probably go 3-4-3 and. Yeah, for me, Podence, Jimenez. I'm not sold on Neto at the moment being back fully fit yet. He's looked okay, obviously, but I mean, then it's going back to the other favourite conversation of like, do you put Trincao in the front three? And I know he's splitting opinion as well a little bit. And for me, I just think he's a bit weak. Like I think there's a player there, but I just don't think it's going to happen at Wolves. So I think there's definitely options. And yeah, for me, I think you've got to play Aït-Nouri when you're at home against a team you should be beating as well. Because Marcel, he's a square peg in a round hole for me, in a wing-back position. So yeah, I like to see us be a bit more expansive, play 3-4-3, and see where he gets us.
With Neto, I agree. He doesn't look back to best, but personally, I don't think he works off the right. I think he's much better on the left. I think he's much better explosive. Getting to the byline, whether that's a flash across the box or a shot at goal. It's early days, not going to write him off, but I just don't feel he's almost cute enough to play that inside forward role on the right. I don't know about you guys think.
The thing is, Matt, he played on the right against Palace and he didn't drift inside. He still stuck to the wing, so he's getting onto the byline on his right foot. If he was doing that on his left, then Sam whip it in, but he wasn't doing it. He kept cutting back, and then we were losing the ball a lot. If he's going to play on the right, he's got to play narrower.
Infield,
And I don't know if it's how Palace set up, and he just found it a struggle to try and break those lines and break into those sort of areas. And I suppose it didn't really help him when he had Keanu Hoover and then a probably not 100% sharp Johnny on that side as well for the support. So maybe when he's got the likes of Semedo there again, or maybe Johnny based on performances yesterday. But yeah, I agree. I'd be probably going someone like Podence on the right and Neto on the left if we're going to go down that route.
Yeah, I mean, when he came on against Watford, I thought he looked better, Neto. But there was an opportunity where he picked the ball up, and is it Samir, the Watford centre half?
Yeah,
where he almost like squared him up and just absolutely burned past him down the left wing, and it's like that's what he's good at. But then that's what Adam was good at, and we flogged him. Well, in the process of flogging him, hopefully. So I don't know. Obviously, he's a fantastic player to have, and they've just given him a new deal, which I know you weren't very happy about, Dave, were you?
Mate, you're making it out like I'm flipping out. No, basically, my issue with that is that last year when Johnny came back from a year out, we give him a brand new long-term contract after 2 decent games. And then Johnny was out for another year again. And what I don't want to happen is that Neto's come on for about half an hour, played okay, and we've given him another long-term contract, and the exact same thing happens. That was my concern about it. But I sort of get it from the standpoint of if he does well and we have a copy of the Adama situation and he doesn't want to sign a new deal, I get that. And I think that's what the club are going to be trying to do from now on, make sure they don't get valuable assets into the last sort of 18 months of their contract. They're going to make sure they've got them for much longer. So that's why Neves is a must this summer.
So what you said in your tweet, mate, that you deleted.
I deleted. I shit myself, mate. Yeah. I thought I can't be asked with the hassle. It was 2 p.m. I was like, I can't be bothered for this.
No, I didn't see him. I was like,
he's got it screenshotted. He's ready. Yeah.
When I was ready in our chat, I was like, oh, a bit of a feel-good story off the back of 3 defeats. That's a bit strange. Like, wonder why they're doing that. Like, I just thought it's probably been wrapped up for a while, and they've just used it as an opportunity to try and lift the mood. But I do get what you're saying, mate, and he's a valuable asset, and they need to try and time down. But for the Leeds game, we will be back with a BetMate pot. I believe the paying is going to be £3 again, Dave. Is that's true?
Yeah, back to normal. So obviously, I think top 5 is it get the winnings again. So
we'll be finishing bottom table again.
So yeah. So whatever teams we pick the opposite of us, and I think obviously if we get over 50 people, I think the prize pot goes up. So get involved. Last one before the international break, and there's going to be some fun stuff when the football's back after the internationals too. Yeah,
they've also got a new feature on the app now where you can not almost, I'm talking shit. You can create a private pot with your mates. So you can select the fixture, the payout structure, the entry fee. And then you can decide who you want to invite. It might be your colleagues, it might be a few blokes down the pub. But yeah, it's a really cool new feature they've added to the app, and it's a fantastic app. I think coming from someone who works in marketing, the user experience of the app is absolutely bang on. Like, it's so easy to navigate. But yeah, go and have a look at that. It's all on their socials on BetMate. It kind of explains it a little bit better than I have. But yeah, that's the Leeds game, and that's BetMate. And no doubt, like you said, Dave, now it's back to paying top 4 or 5 places that will be absolutely nowhere near it. Wolves have announced, the Telegraph have posted a story. I think it's John Percy who's published it, that Wolves are looking at exploring a tour of the US in the summer. I think we've spoken about this previously, haven't we, on the podcast? And Wolves are looking to try and penetrate that market. But I bet you can't wait, can you?
No, yeah. Would it have been 2020? It was lined up for the COVID season ruined it, or was it? Yeah, it would have been, wouldn't it? At the end of that season, it'll be amazing. I think around the sort of normal pre-season dates, we're meant to be in France at the moment for the family, so that one's getting cancelled, or I'm not going to be there because I'll just have to be there. It should be unbelievable. I think the previous time the plan was to play was it Orlando at the time, who had Nani, who's now left sadly, but that would have been a nice one. Yeah, just anywhere in America. It'll be against a few Mexican teams, I imagine, as well. It'd just be amazing. I think once we've done our Talking Wolves trip to Grasshoppers, we'll get that one in the diary as well.
I don't think I can afford it, mate. I've booked Vegas for me, so I don't think I'm. I could just stay out there. I don't think the missus would be very happy about it. Which might not want me to come back anyway after Vegas. Jord, is it something that interests you going to watch Wolves in the US?
I mean, I probably watch it on the telly. I think it's just because it's pre-season, like it's nothing. But I think that it's important, and I know again that fans get a bit arsy about games going around the world and stuff. And I know it's only pre-season, but it helps. And as a club the size of Wolves, in terms of where we've got to be a bit tighter with FFP than your Man Cities and all that sort of stuff. We've got to generate income how we can. So if we're going to get paid to go out to America and get some sponsorship and get some finances in the back of it, then great. Get more fans, get more exposure into Central and Latin America as well, and North America as well. I think it all helps. I think that anything to... I sound like really corporate. Actually, let me just stop there. Like I was saying, to grow the brand. I've been at work all day, but it is that, I do sound like bloody Russell Jones and all them. But it's right. It is right. Like it helps. So I think it's a good thing. And I've always enjoyed watching friendlies. Against the MLS All Stars playing whoever, and that could be us. So great, get it on telly. It'll be quite fun to watch.
I think the last time that Wolves played in America was 1972. That was a pre-season friendly in July, which is a bit strange, isn't it? They've gone over there in 72. Dave, it's something that interests you. I mean, I agree with Jordan's point. It's good to try and penetrate that market, but you are going to get the Yidars who will moan about stuff like that. But does it interest you?
It interests me a lot, but I'm not sure if it'll interest my bank account or not. So it's one of them. I think I'll have to look.
I don't think it's your bank account, man. I think it's the missus that probably.
We've not been on holiday in 12 months, so that could be our little trip.
Yeah, just don't tell her. Surprise!
No, we're going to America. Right, we're actually going to Wolves play bloody. Miami.
So no, I'd really be interested, but obviously it just depends on. You remember a couple of years ago when the club released like the pre-season details like 3 weeks before all the friendlies, so it would have to be like plenty of notice. Make sure, and I hope they do that. Give us plenty of notice. If not, watching the games at 2:00 in the morning, I'll be up for that as well. Something a bit different. So be one of them. Yeah, looking forward to it. See what happens.
Thinking about it though. Russell's gone to Miami today. I think he put on Twitter. So whether it's a watch this space that it's going to be announced soon. I think it was for a separate conference thing.
John Percy said though, details are going to get looking to either progress or get finalised this week. So maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's a 2 and 2 together. It's that some conference thing I saw on Twitter. Also means we can't sign Ronaldo in the summer, if that happens.
Let's not get into that. I think that is probably the best time to go on to the questions before we get a lawsuit, because that'll be about get the money to pay for it. So we had quite a lot of questions on Twitter and Instagram. So thanks again for those who have sent them in. Kevin has asked, is anyone missing Traore? I'll always miss him. I'll always miss the bloke.
Nah.
A little bit. I think the best way to put it is I grew to love his imperfections. Is the best way to put it. Like, he's the most frustrating footballer I've ever watched in my life. But by the end of it, he went, I was just hoping, if he did it 1 in 10, I got to that point where, you just really love that one moment every 10. Yeah. And when he put it into Rosetta, the South Bank, when he tried to cross a ball with no pressure on him, you go, next time, dust yourself off, mate. Get the Vaseline on and try again, sort of thing. So,
have you said that a few times, haven't you?
Yeah.
I almost feel like Traore. He's like having a dog and you've come home and the fucker's chewed the skirting boards up, and then 5 minutes later, he jumps on the sofa and gives you puppy eyes. You might have put the ball in the South Bank from a cross, but you know what? I love you. That's how I see him. So I'll always miss him. Do you miss him, Dave?
I don't know. Probably bits like against Palace and that I probably could have done with him, but I don't know. When we've won 2 games on the bounce, I don't think I'm that arsed.
It's always the shouts of, say, after 10 minutes, we've not scored. Game's crying out for Traore. It's always the same. Yeah. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. Stuart Jones has asked, who would you like as your 3 centre halves? As I don't think Sace has been great since returning from international duty at AFCON. I don't think he's been great, but I don't think he's necessarily been bad. Do you think?
No, his distribution wasn't great against Everton. I sort of noticed that channel ball wasn't really working, but he also had no flying wing back to hit, or winger really, for 80 minutes. We're fortunate that, I mean, Kilman started initially on the left, didn't he? Bolly can play on the left. I mean, Sayson Bolly, I remember that one season sort of swapped as well. So you've got options if you did want to drop him. I think the reason we played Totti over Sanderson earlier in the season was that he didn't want to move Kilman across, did he, from a side that he shouldn't really be on. So you basically got Bolly or Sace, even Totti to pick from that side now. So I don't think he's been awful. I'd personally give him a contract, I think, for at least another season. But yeah, it's good we've got options now at least. Or you play all three of them and Cody in midfield. Dave, yeah.
Oh yes.
What do you reckon, Dave? Who's your 3 centre half?
I think I said it earlier. I think we've got the options now, but I think it'd be very harsh to drop any of the current back three. I think on a more consistent basis. I thought he was okay against Everton. Yeah, I understand against Palace, you could have put him at fault for one of the goals. I thought he was all right. Totti, I like him, but we've seen him for 2 or 3 games, and everyone's talking like he's the next Billy Wright or something sometimes on Twitter. So
that's big.
We've got to just take some of his.
Every fan's react. I don't know what Totti Gomez has got to do to get a game.
I'm trying to think, what games did he play? Brentford,
Southampton,
FA Cup game. Yeah, and like I've said before in the pod, he was very, very safe. I'm not downgrading his performances whatsoever, but I don't think he's done enough for us to be, singing and shouting about him as much as we are.
No. What about you, Jord? Who's your back through?
I think it's, for me, I think if you're looking long term, I think it's Bolly, Cody, Kilman, because although Kilman's been good on the right hand side, I do think you want a natural right foot or a natural left foot on either side to be able to play that channel ball. I think that Kilman sometimes is coming inside and it can almost put you in a bit of trouble. I think long term, that's probably, or even if you said name the best 3, as harsh as it sounds, that probably would have been the best 3. I don't think I'd have Sace in there, but he's another one really. Like, he's probably one of the first ones. If you're looking at swapping someone out, fans say, "I'll drop Sace, drop Dendoncker," and actually, he's not really ever let the club down, really, for me. Like, what is it, 5 years now he's been here? Like,
second longest serving player.
Yeah, he's like, a bit of an unsung hero, and I think it'd be really harsh to drop him. I do agree it's dropped off a little bit since AFCON, but not to a point where I'm thinking he needs a time out of the team, if I'm honest with you. So I'm not back myself there, but yeah. But Bolly, Cody, Kilman, probably the best back 3, I think, at the moment.
There's quite a lot of questions around Neves and whether you think he'll sign a new contract, which I think we've covered. But the Mars Music Show on Twitter has asked, do you think that gaining Europa Conference League participation would be enough to keep the likes of Neves and still let us sign top talent?
I think it's a conversation that Bruno and then Jeff Shee or similar have got to have with the team and with Neves in particular. Because if they can convince him to sign a new deal, but also promise him that they're going to invest heavily into the team, then sound. I think it's difficult for Neves right now. He's obviously wanted at the club. I don't think the club will ever be desperate to let go of him unless an absolutely ridiculous bid comes in for him. He's got 3 young kids here. His missus seems to, enjoy the city. I know it's one of those things, but I think we just got to get into Europe in some capacity, and that is a huge step for us to getting him to sign a new deal. But I think it's got, I think Bruno said it 2 or 3 times, and he's probably got that in Ruben's head as well. We need to be signing top players to keep our top players as well. So we've got to, and I think I've got a sneaky feeling Martino's not going to stay. So I think you need a top central midfielder next to Neves to convince.
I don't think they'll be keen to lose both of them, though. I really don't. I think it's
exactly.
one or the other. I'm going to flip that question on its head now, Jord. I'm going to ask you, in the summer, how much is Ruben Neves worth? Bearing in mind he's got 2 years left on his deal.
You've got to think about he's not English, so that obviously takes a little bit off because the English stats goes.
Oh, I don't know, mate. With that Yam Yam accent he's developing, I think he might, citizenship.
British passport, yeah. I think realistically, okay, what I think he's worth, I think he's worth as much as what Declan Rice would be worth. However, I think you're probably looking between 60 and 70, personally. But again, Declan Rice could go for 100 million in the summer, and I don't think there's any, I don't think there's any difference between the two of them, if I'm being completely honest with you. He's just class, but I think, going back to your last question, I don't think the Conference League's enough to keep him. I think we need Europa League minimum, which then means we've got to come top 6, which is not out the realms of possibility, but I don't know. I don't know if the Conference League. I want to be. It's great, I want to be in Europe. Like saying to Dave, like my boss is a Maccabi Tel Aviv fan, and they're in the Conference League playing PSV. Be quality to go these places, but I don't know if it's enough to keep Neves and stuff. Like say we've got European football. I don't know if that lures the same as like actually the Europa League being so new. So yeah.
Question: how's your gaffer a Maccabi Tel Aviv fan?
Oh yeah,
people want to know.
Like, my team are out in Israel and stuff. Yeah, so 80% of my workforce out in Israel. So I was in Tel Aviv for the Tottenham away game.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I watched it in a sports bar on Tel Aviv beach. There you go.
What's it like around there?
It's unbelievable.
Is it?
Like literally, like you obviously hear about all the you hear Israel and everyone's going, oh, God, you don't want to go there. Yeah. But it's actually like Tel Aviv itself is a bit like LA. I'm not even joking you. It's like people who are on skateboards and beat and like rollerblading on the beach and stuff. There's no one under the age of 35. It's just it's good. Get out there.
Pre-season tour of Israel then. Yeah. Get there. How much is Neves worth in the summer if he carries on the glistening form in the last 2 games?
Around the same, I'd say. Yeah, with 2 years. You lose a tiny bit of that bargaining power, don't you? That like 3 years would give you, because I mean, you could get another Adama situation where teams like Spurs were low balling and they go, all right, well, you run it down then. So probably around that. Again, yeah, if he was English, he could be talking 100 because the stuff he can do with the football. My imaginary missus, she was fuming at that last goal. So I think around that sort of, I could even push up to 80. Would you get 80? He's special, isn't he? 80 or they can walk easy.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm pretty much same as he's. I'm sure people in the comments will think he's a bit more. I think he's worth to Wolves worth a lot more than that. But at the same time, and imagine 3 or 4 years ago saying, you're going to get £70 million for a player. That would be unheard of, unbelievable. But yeah, I think we've got to be getting at least 60 million if he was to go.
Some big price tags there. Some big price tags. I'm not convinced I'll get that much for him. But I think that's just down to focus.
If it's any less than 50, then sack the board.
So true.
That's going to get clipped up, mate, when he goes to 30 million in the summer. 30 million.
Or Barca get him on loan.
Jeff Sheen of a message on LinkedIn.
Ricky Pudge and 20 million. Yeah. And straight swap for Trincao and Adama. I think that'd be enough to put me off football.
Trust the process.
Always Wolves. One more question before. Well, we've got one question off BetMate asking who's better out of BetMate out of Matt Cooper, M. Cooper Wrights, and Dave Azzopardi. I don't think we need to answer that. I think we know the question.
We do, because if you really look at the accumulative results, I'm pretty sure I finished higher on more games than you.
Fuck off.
I swear now. Get your results out now, lad.
Well, I've not entered every single game, though, but that I'm going to have a look at.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about the games that you've entered, and then we can have a discussion.
Who's better at basketball, Pedence or Ryan Fraser?
Scroll down to the start. What was the Arsenal game? Arsenal.
Wolves Arsenal. Where did you finish?
No, you go first.
98th.
Yeah, 67th there, 1-0.
All right.
Did you go on your next game? What did you enter?
Tottenham Wolves, 36th.
19th, 2-0 Dave. Next one.
Wolves Leicester.
Go on.
14th.
Ooh, 68th. Right, 2-1.
Hey, that a stinker.
Next one.
59th, Wolves West Ham.
19th, 3-1. Go on.
No, that's Wolves Watford, 34th.
Oh, 38th. Shit. 3-2. It's 3-all. It's a draw then.
No.
We still include Everton.
Wolves Everton.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how many did
3-0.
you win? Is it 3-3?
3-3.
Yeah, I was 3-2, but then it went 3-3. Yeah, there you
You're
go.
gonna have to drop your
that's
trousers.
it.
Right,
Results.
Leeds game.
There you go. Virtual handshake.
I knew. I had a feeling. I had a feeling that you'd not finish your rugby that many times. Last question in the pod, and you probably know it's coming. What are there more of in the world, wheels or doors?
Oh my god!
I think it's wheels, personally.
You know, I've skipped past this whenever it's been asked. I had a feeling it was doors, but then I watched a TikTok. You know that guy that does like, will it sharpen? Metal Cup Edition or whatever. That weird Don from the UK. Yeah. He did a video about it and he said there's like 4 billion Hot Wheels toys with working wheels.
Yeah.
So like he convinced me that wheels.
But then like you look at like cupboard doors, they've got like wheels on as well, like some of them.
Yeah, well exactly that. Yeah. So I think it's wheels.
It's got a bit pedantic, hasn't it? It's got like if we just did, I think they should have just said right tires or like door frames, because you could deep it too much. Then people are going, oh, clocks have got loads of wheels in, and I still wouldn't have an answer if it was just tires and actual doors. But yeah, when you're saying that, there's so many stats where you go, oh, that, and then you go, oh well, this building's got so many doors, and then you go, oh, but Hot Wheels
Advent
toys.
calendars.
Yeah, exactly. Advent calendar. Oh yeah, 25 there. So it's just like, Dave's convinced me with Hot Wheels. That's tipped me over the edge.
I think it's doors, and I only go back to I don't know if you like watch Peep Show or watch Peep Show, but Mark Corrigan says famously every window is a door when he exits the window at the conference. So that's me. Like, the window as well.
But you look at like most cars, they've got 5 doors with 4 wheels.
Yeah, like so the boot is a door technically as well.
Say again.
The boot is a door, isn't it?
Yeah, 5 doors, so 4 wheels. It's someone's asked Sam Beacon as well, friend of Talking Walls contributor. Is there more grass or hair in the world?
Got to be grass in it.
100% grass.
What about if we did Molineux? Would you say there's more wheels or doors at Molineux?
No wheels because they've all fucking fallen off.
There's loads of wheels on them heaters they put on the pitch.
There's just no alloys in the car park.
There's more bricks than wheels. But then you've got wheels in the till.
There's one. If Wolves want to, we need to break the barrier between Wolves and the club. Talking Wolves and the club. They get us in to do that and investigate. Talking Wolves exclusive. Is there more wheels or doors at Molineux Stadium? There you go, Finn. Sorted.
I think doors. Personally.
No.
It's got to be doors. If you're not counting like cars on the car park.
At Molineux, doors. I'd say.
It's got to be doors. Because where else are you going to get wheels? You've got them big wheels on the light rig.
The goals as well.
That's about it.
The goals. The little rails where they put the clothes.
Or the concourse tills. Let's go.
Oh, no, we're changing the game now.
No, I don't think so. I think we've exhausted that chat anyway now. I think that's time. I think that's a nice place to end the podcast. Thanks for listening. If you have tuned in, Dave, where can people find you? Should they wish?
Yeah, so it's Dave Azzopardi, DAVEAZZOPARDI on Twitter.
Finn
is FINERRZ, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I was late to this podcast and delayed everyone just to put my Everton video. So if anyone wants to check it out to make it worth these guys' time.
Oh, look at the plug there.
I love the plug. No. What do you mean by that? Jord, where can people find you, mate? Should they wish?
So at Jord7, and no plug other than visit Israel. There you go.
Dave, have you got anything you want to plug?
Probably no, I don't think so. Or am I meant to? No.
Just like we're all plugging stuff.
What I get up to, what I get to up on Saturday nights is up to me, mate. All right.
What happens in Techno stays in Techno. I'm M Cooper Wrights on Twitter and Matt Cooper Bites on Twitter and YouTube. If you are fans of mixed grills, make sure you go and check that. There's my plug. And in true Talking Wolves fashion, Dave, you're the seasoned YouTuber. Would you like to sign off the show?
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening once again. If you want to leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, you can do so now. Obviously, once again, I'm not sure if we mentioned it on the last one. Big thanks to Wolves Radio for inviting us on there. You can find snippets of our podcast on there. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, we'll see you all very soon.
And don't forget, Bet Mate Pop, £3 in on Friday. We'll see you all there.